Yeah, so I'm involved with the RMT union. I work on the track, on the underground, doing the track maintenance, which is night work. Since coronavirus broke out, we had a lot of problems because management didn't know how to deal with it, and they put no safety measures in place. And we saw across TfL with the high percentage of coronavirus deaths, especially amongst bus workers, but also on the tube as well, especially on station side, which are public-facing jobs. And we had to go to war with management pretty straight on to get them to implement even the government guidelines, because they were just putting people at risk, and all the different grades, train drivers, station staff, and then engineering work as well. So it ended up where we also had a bit of a dual power situation, because we were calling the shots because they didn't know how to handle it. And we just insisted that they put all the things in place they should do, like social distancing, not dealing with the public where we didn't need to, the sanitization of the stations and the communal areas and so on and so forth. And this went on for quite a while, but management started to get themselves back together, and we had a down point recently, which I think is actually talked about with the in the Angry Workers publication I read, where drivers who were being forced to work shifts that were reinstated, that paid no account to COVID-19 aspects, who refused to work, were then stood down without pay. So we got ourselves, some of our members in the RMT, this is, got into some difficulties there. So management started to reassert themselves. And one of the factors now we've got to deal with, we've kind of stabilized the health situation as best as we can. It's an ongoing battle for staff as well as passengers. But the big issue we're looking at now is, because of lockdown and people not using the tube, usage went down by 95%. And usage means revenue in lack of fares. And we ended up with a massive financial black hole on London Underground. And the mayor, Khan, London mayor, and his negotiators, so-called negotiators from London Underground and TfL, had to go to the government for a bailout because we had no money, because we lost 95% of our revenue. And sadly, even though they were in quite a strong position, the mayor and his negotiators accepted a bailout loan with the worst strings you could imagine. So first of all, they've cut the capital programs budget. That's all the upgrades of the track, of the signals, upgrades on trains, on buildings, premises, stations. That budget has been removed by the government at the moment. So that is going to affect initially, especially contract workers on the underground. Those who are on the bogus self-employment model and on zero-hours contracts are going to be affected by that. And a lot of those staff, despite the union's attempts to get things sorted out, weren't paid any furlough money during the whole of the lockdown period, and some of them still aren't back at work now. There will also be a knock-on effect from the cancelling of the capital programs budget on staff as well, because without a budget, without work, without a workforce, all of that project work will come to an end, which means the planners and the techs who work for London Underground will have no work. So they will be put through reorganisation. And they've also got now KPMG, which is one of the strings for the loan, the emergency loan that we had, that the mayor and his negotiators agreed was to get the financial consultants, auditors, KPMG in, who are, as we speak, going through all of the finances on London Underground, looking for where savings are going to be made. So that report from them will probably be due in towards the end of July. And we know what it's going to be. You could almost write it yourself. It's going to be a slash and burn report. And because we've got no income, because the revenue's not going to go back up again, because no one's using the tube really much now even, we're going to need another loan, and it's going to be given to us on the basis, undoubtedly, of what KPMG recommend. One of the things that we've got a problem with is we've got 25% of our staff across all grades on the job are still off on furlough. So one of the things that sticks out like a thumb is they're going to say, well, with all these people not at work, you obviously had too many staff in the first place. So we're expecting job cuts, vacancies being wiped out in the first instance, job cuts, and then a wholesale attack on working arrangements, terms and conditions, and all sorts of agreements around, all the things that we've got working for London Underground. So we've got a massive attack coming down the pipe at us. There is a Zoom call tomorrow that involves all the tube unions. There's some regional level officials involved in that, but there will be a lot of rank and file union members, and it's open to the public as well, pretty much. It's a rally rather than a meeting. So we're going to see what appetite there is there for a fight from the regional level kind of union officials, but more importantly from the rank and file. So we're trying to get as many people on the tube involved in that tomorrow, because we've got this coming at us in quite a convincing way. We know it is. We're also looking at, in terms of balloting, we've got the restrictions that were put on us in 2016 March on thresholds we've got to meet to put ballots on. So we've got those difficulties. Plus we're going to have to contend with management propaganda, which will be along the lines of, we're all in this together and all that rubbish. We're going to have to deal with our right-wing union leadership as well, and the other union leaderships that are, some of them, on the flyers that went out for the Zoom meeting tomorrow, did not even want to put on there that we're going to resist privatisation. They thought it was too going to upset people. So this is a kind of that we've got and we're facing. Yeah, precisely. It's just, at least in the RMT, we've got a bit more of a rank and file control, and we've got quite clear kind of principles around these things. But it's going to be a hodgepodge. One of the obvious issues we're facing is on the tube, our ability to put on convincing strike action actually was that we stopped the City of London from trading pretty much, we kind of really knocked it back whenever we put strike action on. But the reality is the city is kind of done anyway. Coronavirus has done it in. So our leverage in terms of hitting the banks and the financial sort of centre of London with a tube strike has been diminished because it's already been hit with coronavirus. So we're up against a lot. Members, activists and the reps and the unions are communicating. We'll have to deal with our union bureaucracy. So it's not a pretty picture, but as in all things, we're used to fighting on the tube, and we will do, and we'll put it on. And we'll try and assist sisters and brothers and comrades in other workplaces where we can, because at the end of the day, this is a fight for the working class. This is a fight for all of us. We're going to try and hold our end up where we are and assist others. And I think that's really what we've got to do. And all the initiatives that are going on ahead, like the Angry Workers one, like the Anarchist Communist Groups one that we're talking about now, are all, welcome, and what we've got to get into and make these things work for us, because we've got a lot coming down the pipe in terms of our health and safety at work, plus also in terms of the government and the employers wanting to make us pay for coronavirus. So sorry, it's not a upbeat kind of picture, but it's just the same old really in a more condensed form. And that's what we're looking at.